You're in big trouble, though, pal. I eat pieces of shit like you for breakfast.
You eat pieces of shit for breakfast?
No.
Welcome to Breakfast of Champions Season 1, Episode 14. Hello, we've got new microphones, and it sounds a little weird on our end, so bear with us as we're getting used to this new setup. We've got a little fancy boy setup with wireless mics, so
we're preparing for the big time.
We're basically content creators and influencers now.
I mean, I've been telling people that. This is episode 14?
Yeah,
we're definitely content creators. We got 13 episodes under our belt after this, 14. Yeah,
I mean, we're doing it. We're making waves in the Fort Worth podcast scene, inspiring people to make their own podcasts
and at the very least, eat some breakfast and maybe do a cold plunge.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
Watch some more violence.
So we're coming to you a little late. You wouldn't know it because it's still going to come out on Thursday, but both of us have been kind of going through some junk. I thought I had viral gastronitis or something like that. And I've been like, the day that we were supposed to podcast and you were like, I don't feel good, I also did not feel good. And on Monday, this past week, I was up at like 4:30. Just not feeling well, and so I've been like trying to get in with a new PCP because mine thinks that I'm a liar because I don't like to take the flu shot and I don't take my health seriously.
I had a doctor like that.
Yeah.
She pissed me off one time because she was just sitting in her office looking at memes instead of like helping me.
Yeah.
And I'd been there for 45 minutes, so I never went back after that. And now I got a pretty cool PCP.
Yeah, so I'm in the market for just some help because I think I'm experiencing POTS. I don't know if you know what that is.
I don't.
Yeah, so it's like post-arthritic, blah, 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 blah. Basically, whenever you're going from laying or sitting to standing, your heart rate elevates, and it can kind of cause an effect of like a nausea, a headache. And so Allie has been dealing with kind of something similar, and I've been... For the longest time, I was like, oh, it's my gallbladder. Took the gallbladder out. And now, like, yeah, it's been less, but, it's just one of those things where, like, I have never been a huge drinker, and I don't drink, like, at all. Like, I think the last time I had a drink was, like, on my anniversary just to celebrate, like, a little glass of something to celebrate. But, like, it feels like I'm hungover. Like, I get sweats and shakes, and I want to throw up, and then just, like, it's just terrible.
Brother, did you get the jab? Did you get the Joe jab?
No, man.
Yeah, I did.
I did one round of the Johnson & Johnson or whatever, just because I needed to get back from Costa Rica to America, but no Pfizer, no boosters, none of that stuff. So
I do want to clarify that I'm being funny, and I don't care what anyone does with their body. Just because we're going on the internet, and the internet is a wacky, wild place.
We are not anti-vaxxers, nor are we pro-vax. We are... Each one, teach one, make your own decisions, and don't judge people that live around you making their own decisions based on their knowledge and health situation.
Exactly. So. I've never gotten a flu shot, and I didn't get the flu until I was 34.
Yeah.
But I did get the COVID vaccine, and I call it my back alley vaccine because it literally happened like somebody solicited me off the street to get it.
Nice.
And when I got it, Ava, my daughter, was with me, and I was like, hey, when you're my age, you'll know if this was a good idea or not. You're watching history in action right now. She was like 6. And I was like, when you're in your mid-30s, you'll know. Because I'll either be long gone because this was a bad idea.
I'll be a mutant.
Or like the world will be a great place. I don't know. Or somewhere in between. Whatever. But yeah.
So
I was just curious if maybe it was side effects from that.
So no, actually infections, including COVID-19, exacerbate the symptoms. And so anytime you're sick, it kind of like makes that flare up even more. Allie is she's we're both kind of in the discovery process of like, what's the deal? But she thinks she has some like long COVID issues that affect the POTS. And so anyway, it's just been a long week of like feeling like crap and trying to figure out like what we're doing here on this planet, and that sort of thing.
I'm sorry you're going through that.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. You've been up and down.
My week since we last spoke has been wild. I don't want to give away too many secrets.
No, that's fine.
The big news is Ray's Burgers. I'm no longer doing that. I'm not sure if Ray is carrying it on, but I'm going to try and get mobile and do pop-ups in the future, and I'll talk about that whenever I get to it. And then, just been working. Heather went back to work this week, and she's loving her job. So
our kids went back to school.
Yeah, kids are back in school. So I've got, now that I'm not doing Ray's, and Heather's working in the afternoons, I've got a couple hours where it's just me, and I haven't experienced that in a while, other than when Ray's was slow and no one was there with me.
Yeah. So we're so glad to be back after kind of a week and a half of not really seeing each other and kind of just dealing with life stuff, and just wanted to get this out to you because, I have the OCD, so somebody in my family might die if I don't get the podcast out on time. So
6 a.m. on Thursday?
Yeah, it'll be out.
Got to be there.
Yeah. Also, we had grand plans of like pearl snap kolaches and cafecito coffee and all that stuff. And so much the way that like you plan to eat well and work out and that sort of thing, those plans can kind of go to the wayside, and you can just wind up at a QT wondering what's for breakfast. And so we're doing like one of those like gas station-esque type breakfasts, like breakfast of champions on the road. You know what I mean?
Maybe this needs to be like an Instagram or TikTok series of breakfast of champions at gas stations.
Yeah, what's your gas station order?
Yeah, and we can just do different reels. Hey, if this sounds like an idea you want to see, let us know.
Yeah, I'm down for that. So we've cobbled together some form of breakfast, even though it's kind of midday-ish. But I was dropping a kid off to his mom and happened to be like, hey, let's go get a drink inside this QT. And so we popped in, and it was, he had to use the restroom, so I had a minute to look around, and these bugles were just calling my name because of the colors and the familiar text and the fact that they're blasted with Cinnadust. So these are the Cinnamon Toast Crunch Bugles edition, special edition.
There's neither a Windle or an unhinged cinnamon square to be seen.
Maybe they couldn't afford the full like package of like branding,
but also
commingling.
It might be like what is it? Like false advertising if they put the cannibalistic cinnamon square on there, because it's like they need to put a cannibalistic bugle on there.
And then also we have 3D energy drinks that Parker brought us.
I got these at Dollar Tree. So I had to go into work at 8 on Sunday, and I normally don't have to do that. I was like, we're at Dollar Tree, and I was like, I'm going to get an energy drink. And they had these. And have you had a 3D energy drink before?
No.
Okay. They're fucking good. I haven't had either of the flavors we have. I normally go for, it's called like Mountain Mist, and it tastes like Mountain Dew, but like supercharged.
I'm going to crack one for the boys.
Crack it. Oh, that was nice. Oh, the fizz.
That's a little ASMR for you.
But yeah, so I got these, and we dropped my kids off at my father-in-law's house, and they took the...
Tastes like a melted bomb pop.
Hell yeah. They took the bags from Dollar Tree in with them, and we're down the road, like 10 minutes down the road, I realized they had the energy drinks. So I had to go buy another energy drink the next day. And then we have these for today.
That's what's up. I always like to do that, grab one or two of whatever you have, because inevitably, I'll be like, oh, I really could use a Dr. Pepper right now. And I'm like, you only bought one last time you went. So I've been in the habit of grabbing 2 of everything lately.
I shop at Sam's Club for that exact reason. I want to buy 2 weeks worth of everything so I don't have to leave the house.
Yeah. I definitely had that idea. I pitched it to my wife whenever we first started like commingling and living together. I was like, look, man, I've got this spreadsheet. We can do par levels. We can, really
You're speaking my language.
nerdy about our stocking. And she was like, no. So that idea never happened. But I do have, like, had I lived a single man's life or had another type A personality person that I was to commingle with and be like, okay, update the spreadsheet. You had half a cup of whatever. You know what I mean? We're low.
Heather and I we have multiple shared notes of like I have one that is the Costco list because here's where we can get the organic stuff for a better price. Here's the Sam's Club's list because we can get whatever at a better price.
Yeah.
And then here's like the Walmart, Kroger, Aldi list of where the cheap things are and where we buy certain things from.
Reminds me of that app. You remember Gas Buddy was popular for a hot minute? Did you ever use that?
Did it tell you like where the cheapest gas was?
Yeah, I think it geolocated you and it was like, hey bro, if you go an extra mile, they're like 20 cents cheaper.
And Heather gives me a hard time about that because I will literally go to a different gas station to save 10 cents a gallon. I'm like, that's at least $1 right there that I saved.
I'm right there with you, brother. I'm constantly looking and be like, does HEB have the better price or does Walmart have the better price? Because they're all like right there by my house. But Walmart has the loyalty program, Murphy Drive Rewards. They are
I'm signed up.
Just so nice.
I've started going to Sam's Club for gas. I'm a Sam's Club stan.
You're not a Costco guy?
Costco kind of stresses me out. I've got both memberships, but I go to Costco less than Sam's Club.
Have you seen those TikToks of the Costco guys? We're Costco guys.
Oh, where they shove a whole hot dog up their ass?
No, but yes.
I mean, that first thing I do is I walk in, I get a chicken bake and a hot dog, and I get a pizza. I shove the hot dog into the chicken bake, I wrap it in the slice of pizza, and then I shove it straight up my ass.
McGangbang.
But
yeah, you're a Sam's guy.
Sam's guy. I like to make sure. Well, we're talking about gas.
No, it's good.
But no, I get gas there if I'm near one because it ends up saving me like 10 to 15 cents per gallon.
That's what's up. I always do that as well. All right, so I had my first sip of this 3D energy drink, and it's Liberty Pop flavored. Is this the same company that does the 3D Doritos? Is that?
Yes. These are Dorito flavored energy.
I knew it. I could taste it. So these have 200 milligrams of caffeine per 16 fluid ounces. Not too many calories.
15 whole calories.
Yeah, it's really good tasting for under 15, like you said, 20 calories or whatever.
I guess what's crazy, so I got these at Dollar Tree, which is now $1.25 Tree. Right. When I would buy these at the gym, ASMR me.
All right.
I'd usually pay between $3 and $4 for a can.
Really?
Like if I bought them at like the supplement store or the gym, or even at Quick Trip when they had them there briefly. But getting them for $1.25, can't beat it.
Yeah, for sure. We have several Dollar Generals in Weatherford, but but only one Dollar Tree, and it's in town proper. So it's like whenever you want to go to the dollar store, you're like, ugh, I have to go in town to go to the Dollar Tree. I know, it's so country.
That's how I feel. I have to drive over to West 7th.
I'm going to give this a little shot. Let's see here.
Yeah. Does it... I'm about to find out, but I have a love-hate relationship with Bugles.
I love Bugles.
Sometimes I really like them, depending on the flavor. Like just a classic Bugle with no flavoring. It tastes like a Frito.
Yeah.
And I'm not a huge Frito or corn chip guy unless there's salsa and guacamole involved.
I was afraid that the Cinnamon Toast Crunch would overpower the Bugle flavor, but it's a nice mixture of both of them.
Oh, that's really good.
It has a saltiness component because if you're a Bugles fan, you know that they're a little bit salty. But also the cinnamon dust from the Cinnamon Toast Crunch is a little bit sweet. So you gotta, give it to me, Daddy.
Sorry, Faye.
It's Madison.
Sorry, Madison.
Yeah.
Whoops.
They kind of remind me of like churros a little bit, like that churro flavor. But also, I'd be remiss to not mention the great American restaurant Taco Bell and their cinnamon twists.
The best. That is very similar to that.
Yeah.
Not as airy, but same flavor, same crunch.
Mhm.
Maybe better crunch.
Yeah, definitely better crunch. I used to get cinnamon twist all the time whenever I used to go to the Taco Bell with my dad. I don't know. I think I've asked you this before, but Taco Bell used to have like on Sundays 49-cent tacos.
Yeah.
And so my dad would just go get like 10 crispy tacos, and then everybody would get like a cinnamon twist, and it'd be like dinner served for under $20, you know?
No, we would do the same thing where it's just because, I mean, my family, it was only 3 of us.
Same.
So it was just like, 3 tacos each? All right. That's nothing.
Yep.
Ate a lot of Taco Bell as a kid.
Yeah, when we lived here in Fort Worth, there was right off of Seminary, there was a Jack in the Box that's right outside of campus, and those 99-cent Jumbo Jacks were like saviors at times.
I don't think I had Jack in the Box until I was like a teenager, because we didn't have them in Illinois. There's one between Springfield and St. Louis, and we stopped there one time on the way home from the airport. And I remember my dad being like, "Oh yeah, they use kangaroo meat for their burgers," and like then proceeded to tell me the lore of like how in the 70s or whatever Jack in the Box was like accused of using kangaroo meat because it was cheaper.
That's hilarious.
But have you ever had kangaroo meat?
No.
Don't.
Does it taste like Jack in the Box?
No, it's real stringy and like gamey.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, I tried it one time because I was like, I want to try everything. No, it was not great. Also,
Not a
kangaroos are dicks, so I didn't feel bad about eating it.
I did see a kangaroo squaring up with a punching bag this week, and that frightened the shit out of me.
Yes.
So
Me and Heather and Aiden were actually talking the other day about, because Aiden's like, I could totally take like a young kangaroo. I was like, no
Nah,
way,
dog.
dude. And then we were talking about that video of the guy who punches a kangaroo because it attacks his dog. I was like, one, I imagine kangaroos smell terrible.
Oh, God.
Like, they got to be, like, real, like, musky and just...
Sweaty fur.
Oh,
Outdoor sweaty fur.
They have to smell bad, and they're just fucking jacked and mean.
They can stand on their goddamn tails.
I hate it. But, yeah, like, we were telling Aiden, like, there's no way.
No
Like,
way. So, yeah, what are we going to review? Let's do 0 to 6 trumpets for the bugles. Get it?
I get it.
What do you got on them? I'm going to go 4.9. Not quite a 5, but it's a tasty snack. And I probably would get it again. And if they made this a regular flavor, I think that I would probably grab it over, say, like a cheddar or like you said, even the plain. The plain gets boring from time to time. So,
Yeah, I'm going to go a solid 4.5. And like
Cool.
I said, I'm not a huge bugles guy. I would definitely grab these if I wanted like a sweet treat.
You remember like Chex cereal, like
Yeah.
that texture and that crunch and that sort of
Yeah.
thing. This would be cool if you did like a Chex mix, Chex mixed style like
That would
snack
be
mix.
really good.
With that, there's some pretzels and some nuts and some chocolate or
That'd
whatever
be-
in there.
that would be
I think
really
that'd be fun. Yeah. So thank you, QT and Dollar General, for this struggle bus breakfast. Neither of us are on the struggle bus today, but it is fun to slum it from time to time. You know, we were going to get a nice
struggle bus.
we're going to get a nice spread, but you know, we're men of the people. We also like to keep it real, and most of the time we're little trash pandas that like to scavenge
Yeah.
whatever our kids left over. Or like that's my favorite thing is I just listen to Faye order, and I'm like, yep, you're not going to eat that.
Oh,
You're probably not going to eat that. That's what I'll have for dinner. I'll have the
Heather's actually picked that up. She, like in the last few months or year or so, she was just like, I noticed you never really order much food, but you're the biggest person. I was like, I let you guys order first for a reason because I know that neither one of the kids are going to eat all their food. I know Heather's not going to eat all of her food. So like we'll go somewhere, I'll order one small thing, and then I'll end up clearing the table by the end of the meal. And that's totally fine because I get a nice variety. Because usually the kids order things I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And I get to try things that I wouldn't normally like. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is great. Or not like, but wouldn't normally order.
last night we were ordering pizza, and Faye was like, I want chicken wings, and I want a salad, and I want a pizza. And then Allie's like, what do you want? I'm like, I'm good.
Because you know there's going to be chicken wings, and a salad, and a pizza.
So, yeah, it's fun times. So this week, I know we had MMA drama down at the bottom, but I wanted to bump that up to the top because there's so much to talk about. We've missed some things, and we've got some things that you don't even really particularly know about, or
Cool.
probably, more than likely.
Probably not.
Do you know about the Craig Jones, Gordon Ryan drama?
No.
Did those names ring a bell to you?
Gordon Ryan. I saw something about Gordon Ryan on my Instagram feed, but I didn't go down the rabbit hole.
So Gordon Ryan is probably the most, how do I put this without like offending like most fans? Gordon Ryan is probably the best jiu-jitsu player right now. Maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago, if you said like, who's the best Brazilian jiu-jitsu player? No question, hands down, it's Gordon Ryan.
Yeah.
He is a madman when it comes to grappling and that whole submission game. And the reason that I think that not a lot of people kind of like care or know about like Brazilian jiu-jitsu is because I think a lot of the time it's overshadowed by the UFC and the other promotions and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But also because they don't have like monthly events. They have like one big annual event.
Yeah.
It's
Like the
ADCC.
Pan Ams and
Abu Dhabi. It's ADCC. It's Abu Dhabi something, whatever. And then there's like other promotions like EBI, Eddie Bravo.
Yeah.
He has his own like submission only type situation. So let's just get into that because I want to talk about that. So I'm going to pull up some pictures so we have like a good working knowledge of who's who and you don't get so like confused. Because there's going to be some things that we talk about. It's a little bit of a story. So Gordon Ryan is this guy right here. Okay.
I know that guy.
Yeah. So if you're not familiar with Gordon Ryan, he is this huge guy. He is from America, and he is, like I said, probably the most decorated, and he's a 7-time ADCC submission wrestling world champion, 2-time IBJJF no-gi world champion, and a 4-time Eddie Bravo international champion. So the man has won every grappling championship there is multiple times. So
Looking at his stats, he and I are the exact same height and weight. Why don't I look like that?
Yeah.
Because I haven't been working out. Got it.
So Gordon Ryan, his coach is this gentleman right here, John Danaher. John Danaher started this thing called the Danaher Death Squad.
Oh, I know all about that.
Yeah. So the Danaher Death Squad during COVID decided they were going to relocate to Puerto Rico. There's a couple of different reasons why that were brought up. One of them is tax reasons. I think if you're an American and you have a business there, I think it's like a 5% flat tax for your business or something like that. The other thing was, I believe their restrictions at the time were a little bit less crazy than America was whenever it came to like
face
COVID.
diapers.
So, I guess the lore is that it was voted by the team. Let's move down to Puerto Rico. The only thing there is that there's only like 2 or 3 people on the team that really can make a living off of doing BJJ. The rest of them are kind of like paying to do BJJ and, making their way, that whole thing. So when they get down there, there's a couple of things that happen that are, and again, this is allegedly, we are not there. We don't know. But the couple of speculative things that have happened are, one, Gordon Ryan and his brother, their father passed away while they were there. There was some, I guess, a story about the fact that the inheritance wasn't split up the right way. That Gordon had taken a majority share of the inheritance, leaving his little brother, who is not famous, who is not a multi-championship winner. Could have been a thing where it's like, here, 50-50, here's my share. But I think the quote was that because his brother hadn't contributed as much to the wealth of the family, that he didn't deserve as much of the inheritance.
Makes sense.
That's one thing. The other kind of scummy, like seedy side of the story is that Gordon Ryan has like this cuckold thing with his girlfriend, and he likes to pass her around to his teammates. And so I don't know why that's a thing, but some people are into that sort of thing. No, that's what I said. Some people are into that sort of thing. But
Sorry, I can't stop eating these.
No, it's cool. The like urban legend is that Gordon basically, to make a man out of his brother, had his brother sleep with his girlfriend whenever he was 14. So there's some like grossness there about that. So long story short, DDS, boom, splits right down the middle. You have John Danaher and Gordon Ryan. They form New Wave. And then you have Craig Jones, Nicky Rod, and Gordon's little brother forming the B team. So when the split happens, Gordon goes one way, his little brother goes the other way. Okay? So there's this whole like drama about like, why did the team split up? What happened in Puerto Rico? There's all these like jokes and podcasts and allusions to the fact that like these things happen and Gordon Ryan's basically a piece of shit. Yeah. So some text messages surfaced over the past week between Gordon Ryan and Craig Jones. Craig Jones started B Team, and I'll show you a picture of Craig Jones. He's a cool guy. Let's see.
Is it like the letter B, or is it like B
second
movie?
No, like second, like okay. You know, you have the A team and the B team.
Just making sure.
Yeah. So that's Craig Jones.
Okay,
I
recognize him.
He's from Australia.
Yeah.
So once they split, a lot of things started coming out. Like one, Gordon Ryan is really close to the guy that runs ADCC. So whenever they talk about like pay disparity and that sort of thing, ADC has been paying their male winner $10,000 for like the past several years. So you can't really make a living off of banking on winning ADCC. You'd have to go other tournaments and keep going. Craig Jones brought this up and he was like, there's got to be a way to hold like an annual tournament to where people can actually make money.
Call Shang Tsung.
Kumite. So he decided to directly compete with ADCC and created the Craig Jones Invitational. And if you show up and fight, you get $10,001.
I like
so
that.
Win, lose, or draw.
I like the pettiness of that $1.
Win, lose, or draw, you get paid $1 more than the winner of ADCC. If you're a male, if you're a female, if whoever. If you win,
what you're saying is we're gonna go sign up.
Yeah, might as well get that 10K real quick.
Right? I'll get choked out. Get choked out for a lot less.
So if you win, Craig Jones, you get $1 million. So that would obviously bring some incentive to be like, fuck ADCC. I'm just going to go grapple at Craig Jones because I'm going to get $10,001 whether I win or lose. And if I win, hell, I walk away with $1 million.
Yeah.
So the pettiness of Craig Jones is something that I'm here for.
I love pettiness.
The other thing that I think is hilarious is that Gordon Ryan did this thing where he auctioned off his car. It was a Mazda Miata. And there is some like speculation as to whether or not he actually was able to deliver that car or whether or not he just took a bunch of people's money to like kind of like a raffle, right? So he auctions off this car and
why? Sorry, really quick. Mazda Miata is super tiny. Again, I am the same size and weight as this man.
Yeah.
I do not fit in a Mazda Miata. I would not ever drive a Mazda Miata.
So the entry fee was buying one piece of merchandise from his website. You were entered to win. Well, Craig Jones found out who got the car and bought it right underneath him. And so the B team finally wins something. So imagine you're Gordon. He also has a copy of Gordon Ryan's book, Young and Successful. But the pettiness is just, it just
This is
doesn't
amazing.
stop. You know,
I
he's
love
just,
this.
yeah. So if you want to get into like a funny, cool rabbit hole that also includes violence and that sort of thing, just kind of, just search around on the Googles or the YouTube about Craig Jones and Gordon Ryan. Reddit, obviously, will give you this a spiel on it all.
I've been on Reddit a lot lately, and I feel not good about it.
You feel dirty?
I mean, I've only been looking at one thing about some
boobs.
No, about future things we were talking about earlier. I don't want to jinx myself.
No, you're good.
But yeah, I've been just looking at like one subreddit, trying to get a feel for something, and even that, it's just like the amount of negativity on there. It's it's not as bad as being on Twitter, but it's like long form negativity. A lot of out of touch. Sorry.
No, you're good. So Craig Jones also, this just happened, so that's kind of why we're talking about it. That Craig Jones Invitational, International, whatever. He has been in the news cycle because he fought a woman at his own tournament.
Was it Gordon Ryan's girlfriend?
No.
Mazda Miata?
Funny enough. It was not, but it is Gabby Garcia, who has been in the MMA scene for quite some time. She's also 6'2", and Craig Jones is like, I think 5'8".
Yeah, no, there's a little bit of a height difference and a little bit of a reach difference.
And so this was kind of a spectacle because, I mean, obviously men fighting women. This was the weigh-in. I'm sorry, the face-off. He walked right up to her and just planted a smooch on her. She was not expecting it, obviously, but
that's good. Also, like, he needs like a step up to kiss her.
Oh yeah. So he submitted her. But anyways,
did he kiss her after he submitted her?
No, but that's the thing
Good.
is that it's one of those things where, of course, you get the whole like, okay, that's assault. If it was the other way around, that whole thing, But I think it's all in good fun. He is Australian, and traditionally Australian people love to take the piss out of people. They love to make fun of people. They love to prank and joke and that sort of thing. And I know that's
prison colony.
Oh, I mean, clearly. So I always take a look at the fighters that are in other promotions from Australia, and they're always jolly and. They're great people. And so I don't think that there's any negativity or any bad blood when it comes to Craig Jones and what he's doing. I think he really enjoys getting under Gordon Ryan's skin. And I think that Gordon Ryan takes himself way too seriously and walks into a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you want a fun romp through the world of drama-filled MMA stuff, you can go take a look at, like I said, Gordon Ryan, his little brother, Nicky Ryan, Craig Jones, Gabby Garcia. Throw any of those names into YouTube and there'll be just several videos that will catch you up on the drama. Yeah, catch you up on the drama that's happening in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world. So I thought it was cool. Craig Jones has even brought over Mackenzie Dern, who fights in the UFC. She went ahead and fought in the Craig Jones Invitational this past weekend. She lost. So it's
she still made $10,001.
That's right. She's got that 10K in one.
That definitely covers the hotel expenses, travel expenses, probably pays her team. Yeah, I don't know. I'm saying if Craig Jones send us an invitation.
Yeah, we'd love to cover
choke
that.
out some podcasters.
So the other cool thing about all this is that both of these teams train right down in Austin, Texas. So Gordon Ryan, Craig Jones, if you want to have us down, we can talk. Get each of your sides of the story on Breakfast of Champions and really clear this up once and for all. I know you've already talked to Lex Friedman and Joe Rogan and
who? I don't know who either of those people are.
I know that those people are, the podcast that you've been on, but if you'd like to give us the real scoop on what's going on, give us a call at 682-294-0101. Also, we're at breakfastofchampspod@gmail.com. So yeah, give us a holler if you want to, talk about what you had for your gas station breakfast order, or if you want to shed some light on I don't know where this phone call is coming from, but shed some light on what's going on.
It's Craig Jones calling to invite us
Craig
to
Jones,
the
that's right.
We got to answer.
So if you want to give us your insight as to what Boom, manifested it.
Yep.
If you want to give us the insight on what happened to Den Hair, Dust Squad, New Wave, and also B Team, give us a holler. Tell us all about it. The other cool / funny international headline was that CNN, or I think it was CNN, did like a cut of Joe Rogan talking about Kamala. And so now there's I think
Isn't it Kamala?
Coppola?
Coppola?
Yeah, that's it.
Is that Pan or is it Pam?
Panned? Kamala?
Kamala? I'm talking. Or I'm speaking.
I'm
Sorry.
speaking.
I'm sorry.
So
Sorry.
he was actually talking about her, and they kind of cut it up to make it look like he was endorsing her, saying that he like thought that she could win, that sort of thing. And if you go back and look at the original one, it was nothing like that. And so there is actually a lawsuit on the books now for misrepresentation. So Joe Rogan has consulted with attorneys, and they feel like they've got a case, and so they're pursuing that. All the while, there was also another Instagram post where it made it look like Rogan was endorsing RFK. I don't think Rogan has actually endorsed anyone. He just gives everyone equal opportunity time and tries to like sort through this.
But I also would assume out of any of the candidates, that would be the one.
So he did not endorse him, but within quite a short time, Trump took to Truth social media to express his displeasure. And I thought it was funny because it brings it full circle to our podcast that Trump said in his little tweet or whatever. He said, I can't wait for Joe Rogan to get booed at the next UFC he commentates for endorsing RFK.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure he's going to get
I was like,
for endorsing the candidate who likes to work out and eat whole foods and aligns with a lot of things that Rogan
but
talks
also
about.
like, you're so not in touch with like who Joe Rogan is to the UFC. Like the man has been
the voice
of the UFC for 20 plus years.
Like their biggest hype man.
Yeah. It's like, no one's going to boo that man, no matter who he like comes out and says who he's like going to vote for, quote unquote. I just thought it was funny that was Trump's like, oh, I'll show you. The UFC is going to boo you.
Nope.
Not like you'll lose listeners on Spotify. No one's going to come to your.
I heard Liberty Pop is the sponsored drink of Truth Social.
Oh, wow.
3D Liberty Pop.
Hold on.
Tastes like Truth Social. Are you endorsing Trump right now? Jokes. Sorry.
No, it's all good.
I'm feeling ornery this morning.
It's all gravy. You've had some rest. So
I have slept a little bit.
Does the name Tiki Gosen mean anything to you?
Sure doesn't.
I didn't think it might, but so this is, like I said, we're messy this morning. This is gas station food. This is like gossip. This is like just the dirt. This is the dirt episode. So one of our favorite friends of the show and more vocal, outspoken people that we talk about and reference and kind of send each other things about is Sean Strickland.
Yep.
If you're unfamiliar with Sean Strickland, he's the guy that wears the a gun in every hand and a woman in every kitchen t-shirt most of the time. So what's crazy about Sean is I feel like there's like this glimmer of hope there that this man is like a real human being and that he is just kind of misguided in some of the ways that he comes across. Because he does stand up for things like sexual abuse and that sort of thing. Like he is, one of those things where he has like kind of been open about his own abuse from his father and has spoken out against like protecting children and that sort of thing. I know that's a very like dog whistly right wing type thing. But this man speaks from experience, not from Facebook posts.
Yeah, absolutely.
So while it does kind of align with those talking points, there are other things, he is not bought into the whole like Colby Covington being up Trump's butt. I like the fact that he's a fake patriot. He is trying to be what the right wing wants him to be really wholeheartedly. And you can see like where the missteps are, but he's not a liar.
Yeah.
He's not someone that I can go, This man has said stuff to sell a fight. This man has not owned up to his shit. He constantly is owning up to, I'm an asshole. I've said the wrong thing. I've come back and apologized. Like, he's not a liar.
Yeah, I mean, if he's taking accountability when he says that he's said something cool, like,
Yeah.
that's good for him.
And
that's
I just don't find him to be like a personality or someone that is like putting on a different persona for the public versus like he's not wearing the MAGA hat because he wants to get that 50% of the crowd. He's actually trying to do that and is living that or whatever. He put out a post this past week that really, really, in my opinion, rocked my perception of MMA media. And I think that you and I, can probably fill in the gap there for some of the balls that have been dropped. Because I think that when it comes to Sean Strickland, a lot of the media throws the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, that guy's crazy. Don't listen to what he says. But this gentleman, Tiki Gosen, has been brought up to my attention because of Sean Strickland. And apparently he's not a great guy, but he is very involved in the background and in the behind the scenes of management, promotion, and even involved in the UFC.
Okay.
So he manages fighters, like Aljamain Sterling is one of the fighters. He's constantly in and around the front row of the UFC. You know, he's glad-handing the big wigs. Yeah. So this is someone that definitely has access, that definitely has influence, and that definitely is a part of the UFC. Yeah. So this sport that I care about so much and that I love, I want to get rid of this person. So he is a groomer, and he did some things to an underage lady at a gym.
Nope.
And so whenever this was brought to the attention of Sean Strickland, it was brought to the attention because somebody was trying to get Tiki to manage Sean Strickland. And so Sean Strickland, being the guy that he is, did a little bit of due diligence and was like, well, who is this person? Asked some of the other fighters who he was. And then he ran across somebody in a gym that kind of gave him the real deal spiel on this person. And so one of the persons that he was training with said while he was at Tiki's gym, Tiki isolated his girlfriend and basically had sex with her while they were training at the gym and held it over his head that he's like influential. And so that guy wouldn't make a big deal about it. But then another story came out that he was actually grooming an underage person. This person is now an adult. So this happened quite some time ago. But this person has the ability to come forward and actually give her account of what happened now that she's had time to process. Yeah. And Sean Strickland got in touch with that family, talked to both the father and the person that was abused, and said, I don't want to have anything to do with bringing pain to your family. But I'm being told that I'm getting sued for defamation of character versus this person. I will crowdfund and spend my own money to lawyer up to the highest degree if you would like to pursue this. If you don't want to have anything to do with this, you don't want to relive this, if this is something you want me to just drop, I'll immediately drop it and never talk about it again. Both the father and the person that was abused said, please do everything you can to get this man prosecuted for what he's been doing.
Excellent.
So Sean came with a video response to what's been going on. I mean, this man is like sitting in his garage and like not putting on airs. Like this is just like a regular, he didn't like make a production about it. He just said, I just got off the phone with this person. This is what they said. So in light of that, you have UFC fighters making statements on X, like Aljamain had to come out and make a statement that said, I'm just now learning about this and I'm having to like distance myself from my own manager.
Damn.
Because of this.
I mean, so, good on him for doing that, like finding out and then cutting that person off.
Yeah. Obviously he's not, I don't know what's going to happen with this whole situation, but I do know out of the 700 plus people that are signed to the UFC, there's probably only one or two that you don't want to like mess with when it comes to like I'm crazy. Are you crazy? Because Sean Strickland's crazy.
Yeah.
And when Sean Strickland believes that he's on the side of right and the side of righteousness, I think, and I'm pretty sure, the man will do pretty much up to anything, including death, to defend his honor, to defend what he believes is right. Yeah. And so I think that this person, Tiki, if he is pursuing this defamation lawsuit, is going to be in way over his head, because I think that, like, the thing that Sean said is that he never really said that if he believed that he did or didn't. He's giving reports of what other people are saying. So he never really defamed the guy at all. He was just saying, hey, this is what I heard when I was doing my due diligence because somebody said, hey, Tiki should manage you, because he doesn't have like a manager. He does, and whatever. So if all of this kind of like goes the way that it goes, I'm hoping that this person will get kicked out of the UFC and never touch another mat ever again, never be involved with children ever again, and hopefully serve some prison time for the things that he's put people through mentally, physically, and spiritually. Because, I mean, I was just thinking about this with my son. There are so many parents that entrust the safety of their children to martial arts schools and academies. Yeah. And for you to betray that trust is probably the lowest fucking thing you could ever do in life.
This is extreme, but literally, if you touch kids, just bullet to the back of the head.
For sure. That's not extreme. That should be standard.
We shouldn't be putting these people in prison. And I know that, it's a whole discussion, but really, a bullet's really fucking cheap, and you make sure that never happens again.
Yeah, we don't have to spend taxpayer money making sure that they're comfortable in a cell with their buddies.
I know that most of those guys get taken care of in prison.
Yep.
But still, if you hurt kids, just fucking die.
So the thing that pissed me off, and the reason I'm bringing it up, if for no other reason, I want one source of MMA, whether it's us with our 10 subscribers or whatever, somebody needs to stand up and say that this is happening and let people know. Because the thing that Sean pointed out is, if Sean was to do something silly, there would be 10, 15 stories like that.
Yeah.
Tweets, stories, an in-depth look at his life, why he's fucked up in the way that he is. But the second that he brings something that is actually like newsworthy, noteworthy, a concern, not one fucking article, not one fucking tweet, nobody stood up and said, hey, this shit is happening, maybe, and it's not cool. But it's like, why is that? Why can he, like, if he were to I know, for a perfect example. Somebody tried to break into his truck, and the surveillance video of him coming out and confronting the person with the gun, that was everywhere for days upon days upon days upon days.
It gets clicks. It generates revenue.
Yeah. And so to me, it's like, is Tiki friends with some of these MMA news reporters' stories because he's so close with the UFC? And so fuck that. We don't know Tiki, so we're going to report it. There's a predator at the UFC allegedly, and we're not cool with that. Dana, whoever up at the UFC, please do the due diligence, get this guy out of the fucking sport forever. And so we never have to hear about him or talk about him again, because that shit has no place. No place in breakfast or violence. Just, not to make light, but so lastly, speaking of MMA media, someone that I hold in high regard, someone that I kind of look to for my sources of MMA news because of the fact that he has so many great contacts, is Ariel Helwani. He is a guy from Canada, but he is kind of involved in the UFC very closely, to the fact where, there's compilation videos of Dana White talking badly about him as a reporter. So while he's just a reporter, he still has a caricature in the UFC. You know what I mean? There's been plenty of fighters that have spoke ill of him, don't like him. There's plenty of compilations of fighters and people in the UFC getting into it with Ariel Helwani. But the one thing is, that man has been reporting on the UFC for, I would say, 10, 15 years. Yeah. And he's one of the only ones that has been like consistently showing up. He had a deal with Vox Media and Spotify for the past couple of years. And they brought to you the MMA Hour on Mondays. And it was like a 3 or 4 hour long live podcast that they streamed on YouTube for completely free. And he had a couple of producers, but lots of call-in guests. I mean, every Monday you would have 3 or 4 UFC fighters, 2 or 3 coaches. He's had famous boxers, rapper. I mean, just like it becomes like more than the UFC. Yeah, exactly. Goals. Studio, contacts, calling in, talking to the people that are fighting this week. That would be great. But he announced this week that his contracts with both Vox and Spotify are up, and he is not renewing with them. And I think the reason is what we are doing right now is the next wave of sports media consumption.
I think so too.
We see it with It Is What It Is. We see it with Shannon Sharp. We see it with Chael Sonnen. We see it with a lot of different personalities. It's no longer a necessity. Even ESPN is trying to conform to this model by bringing in Pat McAfee. He basically is doing his own show on ESPN. He gets to curse on ESPN. He gets to drink on ESPN. He gets to do basically whatever the hell he wants. Because I think that ESPN recognizes that the tide is turning when it comes to sports media consumption. We don't want to have the stuffy suit guy behind the desk saying boom shakalaka for an hour. We want
from downtown.
Some of us don't care about basketball. Some of us don't care about soccer. When you have the top 10 plays and like it's 9 of them are from soccer and you're like, I don't fucking care about this. You know what I mean? I do. I love soccer.
I do too.
I'm just saying it's becoming a thing where you're going to individuals that have some sort of like entertainment factor that talk about personal things that also bring in, some other thing. Chael, Ariel, they're great people, but Chael's funny. And he's like, he'll tell you about everything. His kids will come in the shot. Whereas Ariel's like, I have to go to the studio. I have notes to follow. I've got calls. So I think what Ariel probably is doing is revamping his model. And he will come back in a way that is more DIY and self-produced. That's the other thing. Chael's never not at home. He's in his, you know what I mean? He's in his house doing his podcast a couple of times a day. He doesn't have to go anywhere. Yep. So he gets to live in Westland, Oregon and see his family every day and still get the same views that someone that would have to go into Bristol, Connecticut to ESPN studios. Like, who wants to deal with that?
Living the dream.
Yeah. So I think this move by Ariel is a kind of a signal to the rest of us that the money is no longer in contracts with big media companies. Nobody's going to get that Rogan couple $100 million Spotify deal. And they are probably kicking themselves for giving him that because, I mean, the move is self-produced, independent, DIY productions.
It's always been the move.
Always, yeah. But when it comes to sports specifically, I think that we're seeing a tide turn, and I think that we're right there on the wave. So we want to thank everyone that's been with us for the first 13 episodes. We're kind of seeing, some moves in our direction when it comes to the way that sports and in particular mixed martial arts is presented. Everybody's got their own YouTube channel. Everybody's doing a podcast. Whether you're a fighter, Sugar Sean has his own podcast. You've got coaches that have podcasts. You have whole teams that have podcasts, gyms that have podcasts. And it's just becoming a thing where now it's more like a communal thing. And like the MMA community lives in the podcast region, and we're right there in there. So I'm happy about it. I'm glad that we're able to bring our love of breakfast and movies and our personal life into it, but we're still able to cover the important things. Like, obviously, how much time can you spend talking about one UFC event every single week? There's 10 fighters, maybe 10 minutes apiece. You got 100 minutes there or whatever. You've got to fill it out with like more stuff. So that's why we do breakfast reviews and talk about our lives and that sort of thing, because that's kind of what's more important. The sport is, You know what I mean? It is what it is. It's bread and circuses. You know what I mean?
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's a hobby. It's a pastime.
So, with that being said, we're going to leave the drama portion of MMA, the dirt portion, and we're going to go into something a little bit more positive. What's going on right now is the Dana White Contender Series is happening. Tonight is week 2, so
get caught up on week 1.
So last week was week 1. If you didn't get a chance to watch it, we wanted to just highlight a couple of things that we saw. Was this your first time seeing a Contender Series show?
No, after watching it, I realized I'd seen some episodes like on Hulu or something a while back.
Yeah, I think it's a really fun show. Also, speaking of what we were just talking about, I'm sorry to kind of the whole self-produced, self-contained media. There's another. So Dana White has 3 shows that are kind of like reality-based shows. The Ultimate Fighter. Oh yeah. Famous. Which is, I mean, I think it's on season like 20 something right now. And we were kind of catching up on that as a family. This season's coaches are Valentina Shevchenko and Alexa Grasso. So it's a very cool lead-in into UFC Noche that's happening in September. So that's if you've not seen The Ultimate Fighter, that's where Nate Diaz kind of became popular. He was in the house. A lot of champions come from The Ultimate Fighter. It's a reality series where fighters live in a house. They compete against each other for a chance to win a contract. It's a very cool series.
Road rules.
Yeah, exactly that. The other one is the one that we're talking about right now, which is the Contender Series. This is a weekly series where it is kind of set up like a fight night where you have walk-ins. There's no house. There's no anything like that. It is a very like black and white. We're at the apex. You walk in, you fight, and based upon your performance, Dana either gives you a contract or doesn't. Now, the one that I love is called Dana White's Looking for a Fight. Have you seen that one?
I have not.
Okay. Dana White's Looking for a Fight is cool because he actually goes to other promotions. So like he'll go to like a LFA promotion and like their biggest fight of the year. He'll go to that and he'll see, like he'll put together a little notebook and is like, we're supposed to watch these fights. And he'll give somebody an invitation to the Contender Series from Looking for a Fight.
Okay.
The reason I bring this up is because I couldn't find Looking for a Fight this season on ESPN. The Ultimate Fighter lives on ESPN. Contender Series lives on ESPN. Fight Nights, pay-per-view, all that lives on ESPN. I finally found it. It lives on YouTube. It's under Dana White's YouTube channel, not the UFC's YouTube channel. And the man is self-producing this series now and releasing it on his own only on YouTube. So exactly the model we're talking about, from the top all the way down to us, it's all about, he's like, I see where this is going.
You see where the ad revenue comes in on YouTube. It's like, I know back in like 2020, I met somebody who knew someone who was like interviewing for Mr. Beast, and they asked for like $75,000 or something for their yearly, something in that range, and they just like kind of laughed at this person in the interview, and they're like, oh, we do like $250,000 a week just in ad revenue.
Yeah.
Or like just insane numbers. So when you're Dana White big, that ad revenue, you don't need that middleman.
Yeah. He is cutting the middleman. And I think within the next 2 years after the ESPN contract wraps up, you're going to find all of these shows either self-produced on YouTube and he's just eating all that ad revenue, or he's going to just basically hire it out to the best bidder. So Contender Series could be on Netflix and Ultimate Fighter could be on Hulu and you know what I mean? It could be on one of those things where you're going to have to like really hunt and search for it.
But also the flip side of that is if YouTube sees all these people doing that, oh, hey, you have to have YouTube Premium in order to watch this content so that they can cash in on it too.
Yeah. So Looking for a Fight, I think this season it's better than it's ever been. They went to Toronto, I believe. I sent you the clip. Within 30 seconds of the episode, the intro happens and you see where they are and they kind of let you know what's happening. They walk into a spa and Dana White makes Dean Thomas and Matt Serra get into a cold plunge for 3 minutes.
Wild. Isn't it wild?
Isn't it wild? I was just telling him, I also sent you that Instagram reel of that new A24 movie where Y2K is a real thing. And I'm just like, okay, that's my idea.
You know, I challenged Jonah Hill to an MMA fight.
For sure.
And what's the other guy? I like him from SNL. Kyle Mooney.
Yes.
Both of them. Kumite style.
So the first, let's see here. Dana White's Contender Series.
Sorry, I'm chewing.
No, you're good.
Leaving dead air.
So last week is the one we watched. Let's see here. Loner Kavanaugh and Antoine Ho was that first fight that we watched.
Whoa. If you have not, it's worth watching just for the first fight alone.
Correct. I turned that thing on, and those are two flyweights. They're little guys, but you had a first round KO with punches with 2 minutes and 35 seconds in the first round. So,
dude, that was Sleeping Beauty.
Yes, it really was. The next fight after that was Jose Delgado and Ernie Juarez. Another just phenomenal finish in the second round. You have a knockout with knees and punches. Man, it was those first three fights. The next one, Bruno Lopez and Mikhail Sanjiani, a TKO in the second round to punches. Those first three fights.
Just boom, boom, boom.
And that's the first episode of this season, so I can only expect more and more and more phenomenal finishes. Yeah. So if you want to get into it, get into it. It's only the first week. You can go back and watch the first episode within like an hour, I believe. It's going to take of your time. You're going to see unsigned UFC fighters doing basically everything they can in front of an empty Apex and Dana White, Mick Maynard, and Sean Shelby, who are the matchmakers. And they're doing everything they can to get a contract. That night, one fight, one shot.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when I was super into basketball, I was kind of burnt out on NBA.
Yeah.
Because it was oh, this is just cash a paycheck. But then I'd watch college basketball. It's these dudes are hungry. They want it. They're trying to take the next step. And that's what this reminds me of. Is that
precisely
of college basketball.
Before NIL ruined it with money and those guys were trying to get into the league, that March Madness tournament is...
Yeah, that's exactly what Contender
I feel you on that. Yeah, it's exactly like that. You have these guys that are doing everything they can to get to the pros. So there were 4 fighters that were signed. Obviously, the first 3 fighters were signed based upon their performances alone. The last one that was signed was Mansour Abdul Malik. He also had a TKO and was signed. Now, the cool thing that Dana White mentioned several times in this episode is that he is not looking for 30-something-year-old contenders.
Damn, I'm out.
But he signed 2 of them. So 2 of the 4 guys, he went against his own rules of I'm not looking for 30-something contenders. Went ahead and signed them anyway based upon their performances. So it is not too late. You can still,
Pass my prime.
Yeah. So looking forward to that. This evening, we're going to watch that. You're not, because this is coming out on Thursday.
I'm off all day on Thursday, so I'm going to get caught up on both episodes Thursday.
Yeah, man. So before we go into our fight night preview, you got a few minutes?
Yeah, I'm good.
You're cool.
Chilling.
You're chilling.
I
wanted to
3
top
hours.
top 5 war films.
I've put a little bit of thought, but this is going to be mostly off the cuff. Besides, my number 1.
Sure. I feel the same way. I didn't want to think about it too hard. I wanted to more have the discussion like we normally do. And so the 3 questions I have, and maybe we can answer this as we talk about these movies. I thought, number 1, what makes a good war film? 2, is violence more acceptable portrayed through the lens of war? Because we are a violence podcast. That goes back to that internal question of if I were to be asked to serve, could I do it based upon the humanity of it all? That whole Muhammad Ali, what did he say? No Vietnam never did nothing to me.
Yeah.
So the last one is, are war films considered, in your mind, propaganda, recruitment, or an an important memorialization of historical events. So I know obviously there's not going to be any hard and fast answers to that, but I think that that's some of the things that I think about whenever I see a war film.
Yeah.
So number one, what makes a good war film? I think personally, the answer to that would be the accuracy of the historical events.
Yeah, for sure.
There's so many films that like, I'm like, oh, this really happened. And then you go read about it and you're like, it was exaggerated a little bit for the movie.
But one of the movies on my list is gonna be one of those movies where they took 3 historical people and combined them in one.
I kind of know where you're going with
Yeah,
that.
I'm sure you do. But
Also, whenever I was a kid, especially whenever it comes to like the 80s and 90s babies, whenever it comes to like rating movies, we had like a much looser definition for what is PG and PG-13 whenever we were kids. So you have movies that are like, you know, teetering on the edge of like R now, that were a little bit more acceptable for younger eyes whenever we were growing up. And also, we didn't consider like war violence or like the gore that you see in war movies as heinous as something that you would see like in a serial murder movie or slasher or something.
And I think it's
like
also because a lot of our grandparents, and even, you know, fathers served in World War II, Korea, Vietnam. So we were hearing about all this stuff.
For sure.
And so yeah, like we were hearing about this stuff and knew like kind of the gist of it. We learned about it in history because it was like the last big things that happened like globally. So I think that we were kind of almost desensitized to it in war films because we saw it everywhere. Like you turn on Discovery Channel and there's a D-Day special or there's a Civil War special.
They love to show like what happened to Hitler in the last days.
Yeah, like that. So I think to an extent with war films, we're desensitized to that drama. And so to answer one of the questions, what I think makes a good war movie, whether it's fictional or nonfiction, is the human story in it. And telling the story of the people who are there, because then you can empathize with them, what they went through, the mindset they had to get in to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's why my number one pick is what it is.
Let's hear it.
Apocalypse Now.
Goddamn, such a great movie.
Yeah, like that one. And this one actually popped up too. I don't know if I would consider it a war movie, so it's going to be an honorable mention. But again, telling the story of, like, the human story of it, The Deer Hunter. Like, that human story, the repercussions. And now we're really, like, we have a name for PTSD.
Yep.
And what the veterans have been through, what they have seen, and what they've had to do for their own survival, for, you know, America.
Yeah.
Without getting too, like, about it. What men and women who serve go through and the mindset that they come out of like, is very complicated. And in the world today, it's definitely important to talk about those things.
Yeah, we were just talking about like CMI before we started this, and I actually wrote top 5 war films before all of that kind of blew up a couple weeks ago. But I think it's one of those things where there are 2 things to it. One, I think that you and I, because of our age, we are lucky enough to see how quickly technology has advanced.
Yeah.
I think our kids are going to have zero idea of what like kind of our lives were like without the internet, without some sort of like digital pocket assistant at all times. That life will never exist again. So I think that we also, with this younger generation, we're so far removed from like the analog wars of like, you know, now it's all about drones and, you know, proxy wars and biochemical.
Hack into your infrastructure and like crumble you instead of, oh, these guys shipped off and they were fighting people face to face.
Yeah, they were in trenches with fucking muskets. Like, there was no satellites. There was no, you know what I mean? It's just like, I think that we have, like, because we had that partial analog childhood, we still have that tangible connection to the personalization of the war that our parents, grandparents, and great grandparents had to live through. Whereas now, like you said, or like we've been talking about, the technology is just, it's unfathomable for my kids to think like you couldn't just call up somebody and be like, hey, I need help. You know what I mean? Like you're in the elements. You're in a foreign country. You're, no one speaks your language. There's no translators.
Like,
you know what I mean?
Like that stuff definitely still happens.
Yeah.
But we don't hear about that stuff.
So we've got Apocalypse Now that we mentioned and The Deer Hunter. One that I wanted to bring up strictly because of like nostalgia sake for me was Good Morning Vietnam.
Yeah, that's a good one.
When it comes to the humanity of it all, I think that's one of those things where you have the lens of someone who is not a soldier, who has more of the time to contemplate the things of life, be it art, like music, beauty in a passerby. I think that is one of those things that, like you said, is very humanizing about the fact that we're in another country. We're like, even the disparity of like the general and his like thought process of like why we're there, how we operate, that whole thing. Whereas like Robin Williams' character was like, dude, chill out a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, you kind of go back and you realize that like there was probably people all on the spectrum of like believing in the cause all the way down to like, probably didn't even have the wherewithal to like know about the cause. They were just like shipped somewhere because their parents said they had to go somewhere. You know what I mean? And so the music is obviously going to be etched in my memories forever. Robin Williams as a character and an actor. We just showed the kids Mrs. Doubtfire last week. So
Classic.
I think that what's crazy is, man, Forrest Whitaker being in that movie, and then he was also in Bloodsport, and that young Forrest Whitaker connection there. Yeah, he's a great actor. Another one of the movies that I wanted to bring up that maybe that we don't think about as far as like a war movie is concerned is Braveheart.
Yeah.
There are scenes of war activities there, but they're on a little bit of more smaller scale. And that goes back to more along of that analog war, because I love that movie for those scenes because of like, I think, did Mel Gibson, did he
directed and
started,
just like in The Passion? Yeah.
So when you see him like riding to the middle and then like coming back and like the extended battle scenes, we had never really seen anything like that. You see like somebody getting hurt and then it's cut away, but like he kept that there for a while. The immensity of like, you could see the camera shaking whenever the horses were like, just like there's so many good parts of that as far as like the older type of war, like invaders, nobility versus like savage, and like, just religiosity involved in all of that.
The full Mel Gibson experience. Yeah. And so my next pick is actually going to be a Mel Gibson movie too.
Okay.
The Patriot.
The Patriot. Yeah.
I loved that movie when I was growing up, just because like I was really into the Revolutionary War for some reason when I was in like middle school. Yeah. And like late elementary schools. And that's around the time that movie came out in my life. And I probably saw it like 4 or 5 times.
I think I've probably seen it a few times.
Like I watched it more when it came out on VHS and stuff, but saw it in the theater multiple times. And I know it's not necessarily historically accurate. You don't necessarily like feel for the characters in every way. And there's like certain moments that really get that gut reaction. But again, the brutality of like the Revolutionary War, like, hey, we're all going to line up in lines and walk across the field and shoot at each other while cannon fire is coming down. And then his character, which is based on, I believe, 3 historical people, kind of came up with the first concept of guerrilla warfare and like hiding in the woods and attacking the flank and doing that instead of like the regular like British combat.
Yeah, I agree with you on that for sure. And I think that he is completely underrated as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly he's anti-Semitic or whatever. But this is the one I was looking for. The next movie I wanted to bring up, and I wanted to ask you, I'm sure you have because you're much more of like a movie buff than I, but did you ever see this one, Threads?
I think I did.
So this is considered by most people that make lists, that do those ranking lists, as like one of the goriest movies or one of the quote unquote like darkest movies that you've ever seen.
I'm thinking about it, and if I did see it, it was a while back, and I don't remember it, but I know that it's been on some of my lists of like, gotta see this.
So much like the movie that A24 stole from me, this movie is like a what if. And so it was actually a television movie that the BBC put out in 1984. And it was basically a dramatic account of a nuclear war that affects Great Britain, specifically in the city of Sheffield in northern England. The plot centers around two families as a confrontation between the United States and the Soviet Union erupts. As the nuclear exchange between NATO and the Warsaw Pact begins, the film depicts the medical, economic, social, and environmental consequences of nuclear war. It was shot on a budget of £400,000, and it is the first film to ever depict a nuclear winter. So basically the fallout of what happens after a nuclear bomb. It also has been called the film which comes closest to representing the full horror of nuclear war and its aftermath, as well as the catastrophic impact of the event that would happen on human culture.
Is this one that I want to say Reagan, but I could be wrong, that he saw this and like changed, like was like, hey, I have to change my outlook on like nuclear weapons?
That's a great question.
There's some movie, and it may not have been Reagan, it may have been a different president, but like after it basically scared the shit out of them to where they changed their nuclear policy.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. It really, really, really killed me whenever I watched it.
It is, so Threads is streaming on Tubi for free.
Okay.
So if anybody's listening to this and wants to check it out, I'm going to put it on my list to watch this week so I can revisit and get sad. Yeah.
I mean, I think it was one of those, like, I was going down the rabbit hole of like, Reddit, like, what's the darkest film you've ever seen? And it was consistently one of the ones that was like rated the worst to watch. And so,
gonna have a good time.
Yeah. So, yeah, check that out.
Did you
go ahead?
Just an aside, not a movie, but did you ever read the book Alas, Babylon?
I don't think so.
So I think it's considered a young adult. Like one of the copies I had was from a 6th grade class, not mine. I bought it resale, but it had the teacher's name and said 6th grade class. So, we've got an audience today. Very nice. Hi guys. But it's kind of a similar story. I want to say it came out in the early 50s.
Okay.
And basically, like, Russia drops bombs. They launch a full-scale, like, nuclear assault on the mainland U.S. And it takes place in Florida. And it has, like, radiation sickness. It has people banding together. It's a real bummer of a read. And so thinking about reading that in 6th grade, especially because it was like from the 80s, early 90s, the copy that I had, I was like, that would have fucked my shit up if I would have read that at that age. Like reading as an adult, I read it in 2020 when everything shut down. I went back and revisited, and it was just a bummer to read, but it's so well written. And So Threads reminds me of that.
Yeah. Another one that whenever I think about war movies and like non-traditional war movies is The Pianist.
Oh. Yeah.
Have you ever seen that?
I have not. No.
You need to check that out. It's one of the least dialogued films I've ever watched.
I know it. I know I need to see it, but fucking
Adrian Brody.
no. Can't think of his name. The pedo director.
Oh, Roman Polanski.
Yeah, I'm just like, fuck that dude.
Yeah, for sure. But
yeah, I know.
Yeah, separate the art for the artist on that one.
Yeah, but no, I've heard it's great.
It is phenomenal. I mean, Adrian Brody really fucking did the thing in that movie. But like, obviously, he's Polish. It's like the beginning of World War II, and he's basically just trying to find a place to hide. And the entire time, he's like the most revered concert pianist in the world, and so he's like practicing on nothing for the most part. And then I think there's a scene where he gets either caught by the Gestapo and they realize who he is. And so they actually have him playing for them. And yeah, it's just one of those things where it's just like, fuck, man. Lastly, I think it would be crazy if we didn't talk about Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah.
Just because of the sheer hilarity of the fact that
have you seen the original?
No, I haven't.
Original Italian exploitation.
Yeah, I know that it is. But I just haven't seen it. But
nothing like it is low budget. It is fun. It is dirty. I've got it on DVD if you want to borrow it.
Yeah, I'll for sure borrow it. Yeah, I think Inglourious Bastards is one of the ones that I like to try to watch maybe like once every other year or so, strictly for the hilarity of like Brad Pitt. Throughout the whole thing, and just like the cameos. I forget that Mike Myers is in it every time I watch it until he comes in.
I had forgotten until you said that.
Yeah, so it's like, it's a fun watch. Christoph Waltz is freaking amazing, and the way that he like terrorizes Shoshana throughout the entire film because he like has the sneaky suspicion that it's her. Just like, plus the fact that like it's just such overkill when they kill Hitler in that movie theater. They shoot him, they blow him up, they set him on fire. It's like basically anything and everything you could think of like to kill somebody, they did it to Hitler in that movie.
Have I ever told you that I made a burger named the Inglourious Bastard and I put it on a menu?
No.
It was just a monthly special. It was a burger on a pretzel bun with like a beer cheese and like grilled onions, bacon, like all vegan. Fucking delicious. Got an email from someone like basically calling me a literal Nazi for putting a burger on there. And I was like, have you seen the fucking movie? It's all about killing Nazis. Like, you missed the point of the movie. The whole point, like, what the fuck? It blew my mind that someone was so offended by me doing. It was also in October, like it was an Oktoberfest type thing. So I did the Inglourious Bastard, and somebody was like, "You're a literal Nazi." Like, sent email to like the contact form on the website.
Lame.
Yeah, it was a good time. Not at all.
Did you were you forced to watch Saving Private Ryan in school like I was?
I was not forced. Actually, the first DVD I ever bought was Saving Private Ryan.
Really?
Yeah. I haven't seen the movie in years. I remember like when it came out, I was like, "This is the most realistic depiction of war." All that. The movie's fine. It's got Vin Diesel in it. That's pretty sick.
Right?
No, like, it's good. I think Band of Brothers and Pacific are way better.
For sure.
Two of the best shows ever made.
Yep.
Or miniseries or whatever. Yeah, I would definitely choose Band of Brothers over Private Ryan.
Private Ryan. So we've got a fight night coming up this Saturday, August 24th. It is for free if you have ESPN and ESPN Plus. So let's start at the bottom of the card and work our way up. All right, let's get it.
Ooh,
let's get it popping here.
We got lots of shadows.
Lots of shadows. All right. So down at the bottom, kicking us off, we've got a women's flyweight bout of Wang Kong.
I'm already betting on Wang Kong.
Wang Kong versus Victoria Leonardo. Wang Kong has one of those user-submitted headshots, so you're going against our normal.
I know, but
the name,
and I know that, like, you know, I should probably be going for the USA and not China, but
Wang Kong is such a badass.
It's like
name.
Chung Li or like
Yeah.
any other badass fucking Chinese names that are fighters like that. All right, so let's go Wang Kong. Sorry, Victoria Leonardo. If you were Victoria Donatello, I might pick you because Donatello is my favorite. Next, we have women's bantamweight bout between Jacqueline Cavalcanti from Portugal, who has no picture, and she's fighting Josiane Nunes from Brazil, who is obviously in the UFC.
Well, I know who we're going with here.
Let's go with Josiane Nunes. And the lightweight bout coming up, we have Vyacheslav Borchev versus James Yanotop, a Russian versus a Peruvian.
Going Peru.
You're going Peru?
Yeah.
He is the favorite. You got to give 200 to win 100. All right. James Yanotop. I think that's how you say that name, or Lanotop. It's 2 L's, and he's Peruvian, so I want to say maybe it's a Y.
Yeah.
James Yanotop. We're going to go with you, dog. You got a face tattoo, so you should cash in for us,
got
please.
a lion tattooed on your titty, too.
Mm-hmm. Middleweight bout, Zachary Reese versus Jose Daniel Medina from Bolivia. Mr. Medina does not have a picture, so we're going to go with Zachary Reese.
All right.
I don't know no shadow. This looks like an imposing shadow, though.
Yeah, that looks like the shadow I see when I wake up in the middle of the night.
This one right here looks like a legit cutout of a black piece of paper. This one looks like a shadow man from Too Much Benadryl. Featherweight bout, Danny Silva versus Denis Bajewska, both United States. I think I want to go with Danny.
That shadow is
It's scaring me.
Like, it almost seems like he took a picture with no lights, like backlighting.
He painted himself in Vanta black, the blackest black, and it's like there's like shadows popping off of his traps and tits, though.
Yeah.
Danny Silva, you're going to win it for us on this
we're
prelim
scared
card.
of you.
All right, moving up to the main event. We've got Edmund Shabazian versus Gerald Marchant. I've seen both of them fight, both really capable fighters, both from the United States. You want to go face card on this one? Or do you want to look at the odds?
I know, and I hate that. I want to go with Gerald.
Gerald Marchant.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Gerald, you've got a lot of cool tattoos too, so it might be a thing. If you've got a tattoo over your left titty, you might be a champion. Next fight, we've got welterweight bout between Neil Magny and Michael Morales from Ecuador. I've never seen Michael Morales from Ecuador fight. I've seen Neil Magny fight way too many times, and he is old, and he's going to get starched by Michael Morales, and I've never seen Michael Morales fight.
Got titty tattoos.
That's the other part. Neil Magny is, he's just too nice of a guy, in my opinion. I don't think he should be in the UFC. I think he should really just like be a coach or be like something like, he's just like,
too nice.
Smiley and just, I'm ready to fight. You know? Middleweight bout between Ryan Loder and Robert Valentin Fry. Now, this is very interesting because it looks like they've reused the same Danny Silva silhouette here. And then they just mirror imaged it.
And we don't know what country these guys are from.
We don't know anything about these people. Yeah. Ryan Loder sounds like Kurt Loder's little brother got into MMA. I think people with 3 names are pretty psychotic. Yeah. So let's go with Robert Valentin Fry.
Yeah, I'm scared of him.
Yeah. All right. In the co-main event, we have number 9 ranked Angela Hill versus number 11 ranked Tabitha Ricci. This is clearly a pick'em fight. These are the weirdest odds I've ever seen. 108 to 112. Yeah. Like, what is that? Nobody's a favorite.
They're both going to lose.
You're going to cash out either way.
They're going to death a Superman.
I'm going to go with Angela.
I'm going with Tabitha Ricci because I'm a Christina Ricci fan.
All right. I'm good with that. All right. In the main event, you've got the middleweight belt between number 5, Jared Cannonier, versus number 12, Caio Borralho. Now, I've seen both of them fight. Jared Cannonier, I'm a huge fan of. He's one of those guys that, like, whenever he came into the UFC, he was so I don't want to say out of shape. He was just so, like, at the beginning of his fitness progress that he had to fight at heavyweight because he couldn't cut down to 205. So he's fought at heavyweight. And then once he started getting his nutrition under control, he cut down to 205 and got to light heavyweight. And now he's down to middleweight to 185. So he actually is fighting at 185, even though he started his journey in the heavyweight. So he has been punched in the head by heavyweight caliber fighters and is still kind of like making his way and doing his thing. So I think that he's very durable and probably has a little bit more power than someone that may not have experienced those same fights. I'm going to go with Mr. Cannon here to pull this out for us.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Excellent. So once again, if you want to see this fight, you can catch it on ESPN and ESPN Plus. Looks like we're going to be at the Apex in Las Vegas, so it'll be a small crowd, if any crowd. You'll be able to hear fighters and their coaches speaking to one another. Should be a good fight. Looking forward to it. Now, we didn't get a chance quickly, and then we'll wrap this up. Last week we had UFC 305. We had Dricus Du Plessis versus Israel Adesanya. I really wanted Israel to win this fight, man. I wanted him to get his belt back. I really think that Dricus Du Plessis is the biggest dork in the UFC. I really just don't care for him. I don't care for his fighting style. He's very stubborn. It was a really good fight, but in the end, Dricus was able to submit Israel Adesanya. There was a point in time where I thought that Israel may retire. Because while Dracus was giving his acceptance speech, you saw Israel take his gloves off, which is kind of the signal to the broadcast that you leave your gloves in the center of the ring whenever you're retiring. And so even Dracus made mention, he said, if this is his last fight, he looks like he's retiring. And Israel gave us the rope-a-dope because when they went to him after they talked to Dracus, he kind of gave a little retrospective and thought about it for a second. And then he did the, I'm not fucking leaving. I'm not fucking leaving. He did the Wolf of Wall Street, I'm not fucking leaving thing. So he will live to fight another day. It's just it wasn't his day. The ones that I wanted to bring up, there were two of them that were very controversial and needed us to mention them. The first one, this one right here, this Walter Wacker and Junior Tafa fight. Now, if you watch the fight, you will have known that the referee called the fight off after Junior Tafa screamed in pain when Walter Wacker got him in a heel hook. He didn't say tap. He didn't say stop. He just said, ah! So the referee took that as a verbal tap and called the fight off. It's one of those things where you're allowed to verbally tap, and if you're screaming in pain and you're saying stop, they have to call the fight off. That's clearly a verbal tap. But this is one of those things where, like, I think that he just rolled into it and felt it and like emoted and was still fighting and still able to like get up and fight. But by then it was too late because the referee took that scream as a verbal tap. So the reason I wanted to bring it up is because I don't know if you saw this. They normally, after you fight with somebody, you come up to him and shake their hand or whatever. He came up to him and he flipped him off and then he slapped him in the face.
Shit.
So I hadn't really seen that before in the UFC where, like, I've seen obviously people brawling after a fight, but just the general like disrespect of like a slap, an open hand slap to the face. Strong. Oh my gosh. So that was a fun one to watch. Strictly for the fact of like, you were like, did he tap? Did he not tap? What happened there? And then also like the aftermath. The last one that I wanted to bring up before we got the heck out of here was the Tai Tuivasa and Jairzinho Rozenstruik fight. And the only reason I wanted to bring it up is because it was a clear indication that Jairzinho Rozenstruik won that fight. There was no doubt about it. But there was a judge that scored the entirety of the fight 30-27 for Tai Tuivasa, meaning that this guy won every single round. He didn't lose a round. which is crazy because
Yeah.
even in the most optimistic sense of the word, he might have won one round. But for the most part, this guy won every round, every submission, every like striking exchange. So the judge that scored it 30-27 for tie was relieved of his duties in the middle of the UFC broadcast, in the middle of the fight. The commission said, you're clearly...
Don't know what you're talking about.
There's clearly something wrong. You're either drunk, not watching the fights, distracted, something. But for the rest of the night, we're going to need you to go home.
Damn.
So they actually, for the first time, I believe, in the history of the UFC, 304, 305 events or whatever, they replaced a judge mid-fight because that judge was supposed to then judge this fight, the Kaikara front Steve Ercik thing.
That was
So the commission
pull out.
pulling out. Yes, that judge pulled out of the fight because he sucked ass. So yeah, I thought it was kind of cool because that, you know, we talk about things that obviously we'll talk about who won and who lost, but like pip slapping somebody after a fight, and also if you're a judge and you basically don't know what you're talking about, the precedent has now been set to remove you from the premises mid-fight.
Love
and
it.
to have a backup judge come in your place because you clearly don't know what the hell you're talking about. So hopefully that brings some, you know, some new judge blood into it. So that way we're not having some of these weird calls where, you know, you like I said, everyone watching that fight clearly knew that Rosenstruck fight, but that judge scored it as if he didn't win a single round. And so it really just was like a weird thing. So yeah, that was UFC 305. Sad Israel lost. But now, speaking of going back full circle, the next fight for that belt will be Drake Du Plessis versus Sean Strickland.
Ooh.
So this Tiki Ghostin thing may not go away as quietly and as quickly because they have already tapped Sean Strickland to be the next in line for the belt. Also, Dana said it may happen in South Africa, which is kind of not a great place if you're a very outspoken American because they don't do it that well. So he's already made a tweet of like, "Are you sure you want me going to South America?" So anyway, we've got a lot of fun stuff coming up. We've got an idea for UFC Noche that we were kicking around. We've got some, you know, more time on our hands because the school year started a little bit. And so be on the lookout. Check us out on Instagram or TikTok or wherever you get your social media stuff. But anytime you want to listen to a podcast, we're available everywhere. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. If you don't, you know, wherever you find podcasts, just check us out. Yeah. Give us a rate, give us a like, give us a review, give us a phone call if you'd like, 682-294-0101. Email is breakfastofchampspod@gmail.com. Holler at us. Let us know if you enjoyed this episode or if you hated this episode.
Tell us about your favorite war movie.
Yep. Let us know.
What your thoughts on Dana White's Contender.
Yep.
You know, tell us what you're eating for breakfast.
That's right.
Or Brenner.
Or just, you know, give us a call and say, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
How are
Shoot
you?
the shit.
Yeah. Because we'll talk to you. Maybe. Yeah. You never know.
If you're Gene, maybe not.
No calls from Gene will
Do
be
you think
taken.
Gene likes Sean Strickland?
I think Sean Strickland is Gene's favorite fighter, probably.
Is Gene Sean Strickland's favorite fighter?
No. Well, this has been another exciting episode of Breakfast of Champions. I'm glad that we were able to fill your head with useless information about combat sports and breakfast foods. Like I said, we've got a few fun things that we don't want to kind of give away just quite yet, but be on the lookout. We appreciate you listening to us for the past 13 episodes, and we look forward to giving you a many more. Have a great week, champs. We love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.